Welcome back to Siesta with Suki. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I am joined by Juan Carlos Villegas. I'm working on my pronunciation, so you're working with me. And he is fascinating. I'm going to let him tell you his story. I really feel like it's important, as we've been talking, to talk a little bit about the history, to dive a little bit deeper when we talk about going places, being places, doing business. It's not just the surface level, in my mind anyway. Mm-hmm. There are people behind the businesses. There are thoughts behind the businesses. And in Juan's case, there's a real philosophy behind the business that if just some of us emulate, it makes the whole world a better place. So yes, we're kumbaya here, but that's okay. Because I think that together we can really make the whole experience a better experience on this earth for all of us. So that said, without further ado, hopefully that wasn't too big of a drum roll. Juan, mucho gusto. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure for me to stay here, and I need to say I'm stay here because I suppose when you create the talking with another person, you open the communities. Yes. And the first element in Oaxaca is the communications, but it's important to say welcome to Oaxaca. In Oaxaca, no, it's only for the community. For me, it's important you're learning, like Oaxaca is like the big house with the door opens, but the most important is when you have like the incredible community. In this case, I need to explain my...
Wait, before we do that, we didn't even siesta. We're going fast, and we know our philosophy is slow.
I know.
Yeah. So we're going to salud.
In Oaxaca, disbie.
Sí, okay.
Disbie. It's in Zapotec. It's important because maybe another person say disbie, but it's only in the first person because no exists like the third person. I can say disbie for like the person watch me.
Okay.
Only disbie is with you, but the meaning it's help for us. So.
Okay.
Disbie.
And this is in Zapotec.
It's Zapotec.
I'm telling you guys are watching for no other reason than you will, by the time you finish with us, you will have Spanish, Zapotec. Send this to all your friends. Okay. So see, diga.
No, thank you. So thank you so much for the mezcal. When you give the mezcal for the locals, it's open for you. It's part of your community. Remember, when you come into Oaxaca, like the mezcal is part of the life. I wanted to say for us, the mezcal is in part of the life all the time. When the people die, when the people born, when the people celebrate, when the people finish, when you have a bad news, when you have a good news.
When
the
you're
mezcal, sick. Or when you stay here. Like the reason, don't worry. Like mezcal, it's part of the life. And many times the people say, like the tongue have the life. In this case, I say thank you. And I need to explain that I'm representing now the Etnofood. And Etnofood for me is part of my life. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we're going to start at the beginning, before Etnofood. So when you were young, you were 5 years old. Where were you? Where were you born? What was your life like at that time?
Now I have 35 years. It's important when I record this because I recognize I have 35 years.
Okay.
But I thinking maybe it looks like June, maybe.
June?
But
Yes, June.
Joven.
Youth. Okay.
In this case. But I thinking I have the another options. Maybe when I born, I decide. I never decide, but I have like the opportunity. I have like the no hard life. But
and where were you born?
In Oaxaca.
No, I know what town.
In Oaxaca, and the town.
Ciudad?
In the city.
In the city, okay.
Because Oaxaca. Close your eyes, but maybe no, it's the same like 35 years ago.
Okay.
The town was more small. Mm-hmm. Now grow up. Like the city have 500 years ago, but the real city in the connections now have more 50 years.
Okay.
It's interesting because grow up more biggest, but Oaxaca is like the incredible space for learning. So I born here, I study here, but I have the opportunity. I am a nerd. I say I am a nerd. So I love like the school. I have 3 careers. But I have the opportunity to traveling around the world. What is like the meaning? I have the opportunity.
No, where you're taking us, you took us all out of your childhood. We gotta go back. So talk to me. You're a child. What is a child like? What's the life like for a child living in Oaxaca City 30 years ago?
I answer with that. I living with my mom, with my family. I am the family with my father, with my brother, and with my mom.
Okay.
But I remember I working or I living with my mom together. But I remember more small or my precious for me. Mm-hmm. It's maybe when I will go to the market.
Okay.
When you was a child in the market, maybe one Oaxacan every time say, I will go to the market with my mom. And what is like the technique? Your mom touch it and say, come on with me.
Okay.
With both brothers, I come in, but every time my mom will go to the market, the name is Central de Abastos, and this is like the reason my connection with the Central de Abastos.
Okay.
In the Central de Abastos, when you're working or you're living or you're buying your stops, your mom have the connections. And you give like different products. And this is like the reason maybe I have like a good connection with the community and with the market. Obviously, I study in different places. I have different families. I have different parties. But for me, I suppose I have the big connection with the Central de Abastos or with the markets, because the markets is like the space you can listen. This is like the reason when I was a child, I remember like different languages. Exists in Oaxaca maybe like 56 different languages, more languages than Europe. But this is like the interesting because my fathers don't speak another languages, but my mom have the another connection with another persons. And when buying or making, I have like the another concept now. When I stay now, I know what is like the meaning. But agrobiodiversity, it's important because no exists only one kind of corn, or maybe don't exist only one kind of coffee. Exists a lot, or the mezcals.
Sí.
This is like the reason maybe my childhood or my history started with the food. This is like the reason maybe now I have like the small project. The name is Etnofood. So in this case, this is like the reason I have this connection. Etnofood, the meaning is root, raíces. And comida, pues this is the combination. This is like the reason maybe my
So
childhood...
we're going to go back though. So your history started with food. You're in the market with your mom. You said she spoke different languages.
Mm-hmm.
So do you mean different Zapotec languages or the language of food? Well, what's different languages?
It's like
do you
interesting
mean?
because when you was a child, obviously you listen a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, in Oaxaca, it's so traditional. Maybe 20 years now, like the kids no.
They're not quiet anymore. I know.
But
to be so quiet. Yes.
But in my case, my mom say in the house. The meaning is, come on, give me a time, but more late. So you can say, but every time you can record, it's the same like camera. Just stay, listen, and say, okay. But you're a kid. You need to run in. You need to play. You need to give a connection with another kids. But it's interesting because I remember I never thinking that, or I never thinking the same. But thank you so much for this background, because no, it's common to ask you that, but for me it's important. When I learning a lot, I listen at different languages, but every time my mom had told you, Mom, what is like the talking, or what is, because like the question is what it is. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's like the real school. In Oaxaca have like the concept like La Escuela de la Vida, or the school of the life.
Yes.
For example, your mom say, if you're coming with me, you stay with me. No, it's like running or we'll go, because in the market it's like the big city.
Yes.
It's maybe New York or another city.
Yes, definitely.
But if you say, okay, but exists like another explanation when you're coming with your mom. You are part of your hands because you need to carry on the stuffs. It's like the things that you will go to your mom.
Yes.
And it's like because now not have only two hands, you have four.
Yeah, 4 hands,
Or
yes.
it's like the interesting. But this is like the reason maybe have like the small connection and have like the another communities. But I invite you if you wanna, because now I have like I don't like to say I have one product, but it's one tour in the market, and I explain you what happened, because in the home, or Oaxaca have like the big culture, and my childhood was like the connections, because when you was a child never knows or never explain you, the corn have like the big evolution, maybe 5,000 years, never, only say eat your tostada or eat your quesadilla,
Okay.
and that's it.
Okay.
But when you understand the information, or maybe like the history or like the process, it's like the poof, too biggest. This is like the reason my connection is with the
So
child.
you started to understand the history later.
Yes.
So when you were a child, you were living the history, but there wasn't a conversation,
Mm-hmm.
but you recorded and you kept that in your mind for later.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so we're not going to leave childhood completely. We're going to go to kind of near the end of childhood. When did you start your travels? Was it after school? Where did you go to school?
No, thank you so much. I study all the time here in the public schools.
Okay.
But in the university, obviously I study like the primary, elementary, secondary, high school. But in this case, in Oaxaca, I have the opportunity. Maybe I have different events, two biggest events, because, for example, in the secondary, I lose my exam for apply for one specific area. But I don't, when I have like the results.
What's that mean, I lose the exam?
For example, for have Oaxaca or Mexico, the public school, do you need to apply exam? Yeah, because
Okay.
if you don't have the space, like the best schools, finish. And in this case, I lose. I remember, like maybe when I stay in the last year in the elementary, all the friends say, how you feeling during the exam? And I say, writing, and say, what is like the exam? So yesterday was like the exam for the school, and I say, what? but I am a nerd, so I cry and I say, what? Father, what happened? What did you say me? Obviously, it was my responsibility. Mm-hmm. And my father talking with the person, because I wanted to study in the one secondary, the name is 64, and I have the opportunity to study here, and I have the another options in one town. This is like the best decision to take in my life, because it was the name Secundaria 25 Jaime Torres Bodet in one town. The name is San Lorenzo Cacautepec. Okay. But the most interesting is because I am maybe Oaxaca no is like the industrial, or maybe no is like the I don't know how can I explain you, but no is like the city like this is because have like the connection. Maybe you're driving 10 minutes is like the small town.
Yes.
And I have this because maybe I am not the rural person, but when I study in the rural secondary, I have the opportunity learning like the another lives.
Okay.
Like the locals say me, I finished like the school, but in the afternoon I need to take like the corns. I will go to the fields because I need to take like the yards, or maybe cultivate like the plants. And I say, what? But because I don't know, because this is not my life.
Yes.
But when I understand, this is like the second connection, the real life. Because in my family, for example, in front of me, my mother and my father cultivate like the fields, corns or anything. But in the another areas,
not at their home.
No, correct.
But they went to work.
Yeah, because this is like the reason. But when I have like the opportunity to study in the secondary, I discover like the another persons cultivate, and the youth people working normally with like the youth or like the adults don't exist like the difference.
Okay. It was only 10 minutes away, but it was still a different world.
Yes, totally. And that's interesting. And I have one incredible friend, the name Veronica, and she was the owner from one taqueria. Interesting. She's selling, your father selling tacos, and every time she have a lot of money. Mm-hmm. I need to explain, my family don't have a lot of money, but maybe like the concept inflation, my mom don't know what is like the meaning. Okay. When I started, because when I started my school, I think I remember when I stay in the secondary, give me 10 pesos.
Okay.
In the high school, how much money give me? What do you thinking? How many?
In high school, I don't know. I mean,
10 pesos.
10 pesos. Oh, okay. Oh, so there's no inflation.
No inflation. And in the university,
10 pesos.
Of course. And
no inflation in your world.
This is like the reason, maybe like the inflation was like the reason I take the decision. I am a nerd. Why? Because I have the opportunity to take like different scholarships.
Okay.
I have a scholarship for the food. I have the scholarship for the travels, for the transportation. Okay. For give the money. And like the people say, how, Juan Carlos, what are you doing? And maybe in the high school, I have like the small business. I selling, obviously many person to living in Mexico, selling candies. But I have like the big industry. I create like the big industry in the high school, because I am the big organization. I have 2 persons to help me. Okay. And say, could you help me to selling? Maybe it's like the small business, because I budget. Because one friend say me, what are you doing in the high school? And like the people tell me, I selling candies because I need money, because one friend, your father was a doctor, mm-hmm. and your father gives like the car.
Okay.
And I say, she have a car, but I living in the same town. I walking. But the father explained you need to learn how can I make money if you wanted to spend. And I say, And when I learning that, I say, I working with you. But like the women's, my friend Mari, she say, that's important for me. My father, he gives me money more. But she trespassing your business to me and say me, okay, help me. And I say, okay. And maybe 1 month or maybe less, I say, I buy in your business.
Oh, nice.
and I need to create like the small business, but I started because did you remember I told you only give 10 pesos per day, 50 pesos per week. But I say, okay, my mom continue make my invest in the business, but no is my first entrance for the money. And I create like incredible business, and I can pay my high school. But when I finished like the high school,
Wait, can we salute to that? Because that is fantastic. That is the first business in high school, enterprising.
Yeah.
Oh, and when I salute, tell me again how, because I have to remember.
Disbier. Correct. It's close.
Okay, Disbier. It's not close yet. Okay.
Okay. When
so-
when I arrived to the university, it
Okay.
was interesting because I studied in the. I have 3 careers, but like my first school.
Which university did you go to?
Here is the Universidad José Vasconcelos, but was like the contrast because I wanted to study in the UNAM University from Mexico.
See?
So
Mexico City.
Yeah, Mexico City.
Okay.
But maybe all the decisions when I take, I really decide. This is like the reason when I talking with you, I say I live in Oaxaca for decisions, not for conditions. What is like the meaning? Because my mom, maybe in the 2026, maybe 14 years ago, exists like the big crisis in Oaxaca. The apple, the name, was like the incredible small revolutions. Was incredible and have like the big problems, protests. My mom say no, in Mexico City is too insecurity. It's not possible to will go, and 4 months. Explode in Oaxaca like the big crisis and say, Mom, this is like the reason I stay here. But it was incredible because I have like incredible friends now. Oaxaca maybe before was like the incredible city for tourists, but starting in 26 like the incredible convulsions, the social convulsion.
When you say 26, what's 26 mean?
In 2006.
Oh, 2006.
2006, excuse me.
That's okay. I thought your mom was 26. I was like, okay,
No.
that's okay. It's okay.
No, I know. In
Some
the
of
year.
us have kids young.
Yeah,
All right.
14 years ago. So
Okay.
in this case, it
2006,
was
yes.
a big problem.
Was this the time where the teachers too took over Zocalo?
Yes, in the Zocalo. Because no, it's in the Zocalo.
Okay.
Because maybe, for example, I am sociologist. I need a little explanation. What is like the problem? It's because in the city have like the big problems with the community. What is like the reason? In this time, the government changing different rulers, but have like a big repression with the teachers. But the governor don't know like the families. It's part in Oaxaca only exists 4 elements for have access the money: petroleum, tourism, remesas is like the money sent from the United States.
Yes, remittances.
And the teachers.
Okay, but let's go through the 4 again. So the first one's petroleum, like oil.
Oil,
So you mean
the
like-
coast.
Okay. and
Tourism.
Tourism, okay.
Okay. Like the next is
Remittances from the United States.
Yes, send money.
Okay, from Los Angeles, really, because
No, yes, like Oaxaca.
Los Angeles is like
Oaxaca, California.
number 2, exactly.
Of course.
Uh-huh.
Or Puebla, it's from New York.
New York, exactly.
Of course.
I've just learned this kind of
No,
stuff.
I know, because
yes.
if you have a friend, for example, when I have the opportunity living in New York, where are you from? I am from
Oaxaca.
or Puebla. It's like that. Okay.
Puebla,
I have one incredible joke because when I have the first opportunity living in traveling in Los Angeles, my first time in around the world when I stay outside of Mexico, I take the metro, like the service, public service, and I stay in the car. And I told you with one woman, say with my friends, 2 friends, where is like the street? Don't exist like the Google Maps. And I say, where is like the street? And I talking with woman, excuse me. So Shine say, excuse me, do you know where is Crenshaw Street? And the women say,
Crenshaw.
No hablo inglés. And I said, no. Again, it's like the cultural shock. It's like but my friends go, it's like the normal, but this is the reason. But like the force.
Okay, so we have the movements, and then we have teachers. So explain to me how teachers, because I can understand the other ones. So the teachers you're saying are the 4th economic driver.
Yes, of course.
Of Oaxaca. Okay, so
70,000 teachers working in Oaxaca. What is like the meaning?
Yes.
Maybe you can say 70,000 in one small town. No, in small town. This is like the numbers. 70,000 teachers working in 8 regions, 500 different municipalities, and 10,071 communities. It's a crazy relations. When the governor take the decision and fight with the teachers, it's because you need to broken like the big system. No, it's only one person. It's like the school.
So all the teachers are in one union.
Yes.
There's no separate teachers unions.
It is because the tradition in Oaxaca is not a good tradition, but it was the tradition in Oaxacans. every 15th of May, if the government don't give the answer about like the application, like the teachers say,
Yes.
do you need that? 16, the teachers. And one day, 2
No,
years,
16, the teachers do what? It
no,
protects
just started the big protest.
the blockades.
Yeah, the block. Of course, the blockade.
So this is good to know. I'm going to mark my calendar because
Yes, I know, because it's not common.
Yeah, okay.
In the world, don't exist like this organization.
Okay.
It's important to learn
So they
that.
have so it's almost like, so it's a little bit like unions, I guess, in the United States.
Yep.
But they have to the 15th of May every year
Every year. Why?
to listen to the demands. Okay, but
Did you remember like the concept with my mom don't exist like the inflation?
Neither the
the
government.
same.
Yes,
the
I see.
same.
Okay.
The same. It's like interesting, but say don't have money for spend. But like the reason is because in Mexico, excuse me so much for that for say that, but exists the big problem in Oaxaca. Don't exist the change. Every 70 years, the same government, the same.
Okay.
And the teachers is fighting, but don't exist with this big event. Exists like the big organization. This is like the reason create the incredible problem.
Okay. So you're kind of growing up in a. So just so you know, this is real live, right? So we have someone selling. I think they're selling elotes out there. So that's what you hear in the background.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting thing because I've always seen as well that Oaxaca has a revolutionary spirit,
Yes.
and I have always wondered how someone who grows up in that spirit, if that affects them. And you're saying that it definitely affected how you saw
Yes.
the world.
Broken all the relations. For example, in 26, like same
2006, okay.
2006.
2006, yes.
So, what happened? Exists a big protest, but changing.
How old are you at 2006?
18 years.
You're 18, okay.
Yeah, but it's my first year in the university. But when I say that, I discover like another protest. No, it's only fighting. Exists like the big movement with the artists. This is the reason I need to explain like another business half is like the
Yes.
small gallery. The name is Agrogaleria, but I understand like the big protest. No, it's only you're broken or Ulises, blah blah blah. Exists like the big protest, like the unions create like the big moment, but exists like another movement in like the painters.
Okay.
This is like the reason in Oaxaca you can walking and it's normal. You can watch like the art. Like the art, no, it's difficult to understand. If you watch like the engraving or like the good carving, it's like the most interesting because like the evolution, like the painting, it's normal. Oaxaca is like the space for growing like different artists like Francisco Toledo, Nieto, Morales, different painters. And this is like the reason when you walk into Oaxaca, you can watch like different colors, but no, it's only one. Exists like different interpretation, different colors. But the most interesting is like the protest, graphic protest. This is like the reason exists like different books. And if you can watch or discover, this is like the reason now exists like different documentaries about like the Apple, La Resistencia.
Okay.
What is like the reason? This is like the reason create. And in this year, the same year, passed like in the government exists like the election from the presidential elections, and in this time I started like Andres Manuel. This is like the recent connection now, like the actually president started like the movement. Obviously, no is the movement, but combined, and this is like the reason. This is like the first time in the history from Mexico, Oaxaca lose all the official party. Are interesting. This is like the reason. This is like the big impact. A small community with the professors create like another option, and this is like the reason. Now changing like the life. This event past 1 year, finish, continue studying my university. I learning about like the communications because I have like the scholarships and it's obligatory to learning like they use like the cameras. I learning about like different because I study political science, but I have like another options for learning and I'm study and I am a dancer, not now, but I learning stay in different communities.
So you were a nerd, but not really completely. You're dancing, you're in art, so there's the artistic side that was always inside you.
But maybe it's because it's the opportunity to learning, because maybe when you have the opportunity you need to take.
Yes.
Because if you watch and say, no, this is not for me, and maybe I have the good luck because, for example, I apply one big company from the state, Compañía Estatal de Danza Costumbrista del Estado de Oaxaca. And this company...
What a company name.
Yeah, but with this company, I take the decision because pay the scholarship. And after I have the opportunity of traveling around Mexico. Every week, every month, traveling around. Maybe I can the opportunity of traveling from Mexico, but with this company, I traveling around that. I stay presenting in the most important theater from Mexico, in Bellas Artes, in the Macedon Alcalá, in different communities. I have the opportunity of traveling around the world for that, and it was amazing for me. This is the reason.
How long did you spend traveling around the world?
When finished like the first university, I take my first year free, but the next year I decide to added again and the university because my first school was political science, but the second I decided to study sociology. And for me, because if you tell me or ask me how can I recognize? I am sociologist. I love political science, but sociologist is like the opportunity to understand like the complement, like the all in the world. And with this university, I have the opportunity, the public university, because the first was private, because don't exist like the options. But in the second, I studied sociology with the public, and I discovered like the real options because the university in Mexico, abroad, like in America or in the other part, Mexico have like the opportunity to have like the free school. But normally, when you're learning about that, you have the opportunity to give extra elements, and you take the decisions for grow up. And I have the opportunity of traveling around the world with the different scholarships. I am a nerd, so I have the opportunity to take again, and I living in Argentina. With 1 year. With different, again, I have the opportunity traveling again, but I take the different schools because don't exist. It's sociologists in the exchange, and in this case, I take classes from communication, relation, international, social work, business, and sociology, but it's more with communication. This is like the reason I take, and I have. But I need to explain one date more important, because in this case I have the opportunity in the schools learning about like the social business and the voluntarism. The voluntarism is important because
volunteering.
Yes, volunteering.
Volunteering. Okay.
Yeah, and the volunteering in this case, I discovered this concept, but I decided to participate in one program. The name is Students in Free Enterprise.
Students in Free Enterprise.
SIFE. Now the name is Enactus, Enaction Us. This is like the program. It's so famous around the world. It gives have the big campaigns and have the big programs. But like the reason is you make a team, you find a problem, and with the community you create a solution. Okay,
so we're going to stay right there with that. How old are you when you're doing this?
Yes, the name is SIFE.
No, it's the name. We have the name. How old were you when you were doing this?
Like this, 21.
21. Okay, so you're 21. This is this program had existed for a long time? Or?
Yeah, because I started in the first university in Univas in the first time when I have 19.
Okay.
Combined with the dancers, I have the opportunity because I have the opportunity to take the scholarships. And with this, I'm making, but I learning about like the social business. How can I create like the projects? And social business, social canvas, modeling, social innovation, UX. Maybe I don't have more time now, but I decide to learning programming now.
Okay.
Because it's like another languages.
Yes.
But I wanted to learning how can I make the connections, because maybe Oaxaca no it's resist with the culture and the innovation, but exists the options now with the pandemic open like the another way. And maybe like the next level is learning about like the programming, because I like to design like the programs or like the program system or like the programmation. But maybe not, maybe more like the consulting for design like the project.
Okay, but we're going to go back to
I know.
It's okay, because this is fascinating. So you're in SIFE and you have to work with a team on a project.
Yes.
So I have 2 questions for you on this. Okay. First, I'd like to know what this first project was and what solution did you design.
Okay.
Second, though, I'd just like your thoughts on, I recognized years ago that there's this idea that social business is different from business.
Correct. Totally.
And so now that you've lived a little bit, do you still feel like it's something that needs to be separated, or if it's something that should just be universally adopted? So we're going to start with the first one. So talk to me about the first project and what solution you came with.
Like the first project. Thank you so much for making this question, because maybe you can find in maybe I love like not programming, but maybe 14 years ago, 14 years or maybe 16 years ago, like the kids or like the youth people don't use internet like now. Don't exist TikTok, don't exist Instagram, don't exist. True. Maybe started Facebook, maybe,
yeah,
maybe or Hi-Fi, or maybe
16 years ago?
Yeah,
because I was like
Hi-Fi, Metroflog, or like the space. But it's not too intuitive now. What is like the meaning that 14 years ago, maybe in Oaxaca, obviously, if you remember 20 years more, 34, maybe like the quantity real time, 30 years ago, don't exist that. But the reason is because extra, the 14 years, extra not have the connections. But in this time, I learning and I write like the blogs. You can find Saifunivas.
Saifunivas.
Yes, Saifunivas, you can find blogspot.com.
Okay.
You can find I remember when I started working in this program, I decided to create, I wanted to communicate like the person to living with me. But maybe not only for me, around the world. And I opened like the blogspot that I started to write. You can find saifunivas.blogspot, maybe stay now.
Okay, so Saif.
Univas.
.blogspot.com. Yes, and at the time I remember Blogspot was actually very Blogspot's.
Yeah, because it's a history. Stay on the line.
Yes,
and
I remember Blogspot. Okay, so you decided you wanted to start a communication project in Blogspot.
And I create different, obviously with my team. No, it's only for me.
Yes.
But I promote like EcoSafe.
Okay.
This program was designed for reforesting, for creating new options. We'll go to different communities and sell, give different kind of trees and making. Another, the name was Aloe Yavi. It was an interesting project. Maybe 4 months ago, I find again the women's with the university. It was a partner. And driving 4 hours will go to the Mixteca. The Mixteca is like the most.
So this project was happening here in Oaxaca.
In Oaxaca.
Okay. So 14 years ago, you have a blog spot in Oaxaca.
Yeah.
At a time where internet was not widely common at all. It's still okay now. We don't want to exaggerate where we've come 14 years later, but so it wasn't common. So who were you communicating with? Like when you wanted to communicate out into the world?
Yes, of course, because remember this program, the name SAIF or Enactus now, SAIF have a competitions. This is like the reason I will go to Anaheim in Los Angeles. This is like the reason, like when I talking about like when I stay in Los Angeles and this anecdote is because I will go to the competition and I know like different person. In this year, don't win in the context, but I presented like different EcoSafe. I designed 14 years ago, I designed one bank, the name EcoBank, because I read about like the social project is the next answer, because maybe you can find one person, Mohamed Yunus. Do you know what is Mohamed Yunus? It's like the banking community. He have a big history. He's my hero.
Where's he from? So we can at least look it up. Mohamed
Asia.
Yunus.
He's Bangladesh.
Bangladesh.
Yes, and he's like the most important person to talking about like the social projects. This is like the next connection.
Okay.
When I learning about that, I learning Amartya Sen. Maybe you know Amartya Sen. Amartya Sen is like the one philosophy, he's economist, and he talking about like the projects. How can I do change in the life with the real business, but no, it's only the capitalism. This is like the reason it's important you learning my life, because if you understand. I like to make business, but have the connection with the locals and have the connection with the community. Because if you understand like the concept social business, it's important you connect with your field. Because sometimes like people say, I put one business, but it's only for make money. It's okay. But what is like the problem with the capitalism? Like the capitalism is only extract. When finish, when it's done, okay, thank you, the next. But when you create like the communities, create like another alternatives. Obviously, it's totally complex. It's difficult. For example, I am sociologist. I understand that the objective, the sociologist is broken like the capitalism. But when you're learning about that, you know exists like the another options. This is like the reason. No, it's like the only one time, wait a minute, I come back and changing. No. Like the reason is because exists like another alternative. This is like the reason you find Amartya Sen, maybe if you broke learning about like the Mohammed Yunus, maybe you understand what is that happening. Exists like a big program. Now, in this moment, I made the connection with the slow food.
Okay.
And I know to Carlo Petrini. Carlo Petrini is like the president, was a president from the big movement. And I understand to exist like the another options. So this is like the reason maybe my life and different events
kind of brought you to.
Yes, of course. No was like what are you doing today? No, it's natural.
It was natural. So every step of the journey brought you to where you are now.
Jeff, in sociology exists one theory, and say you have one line in the life, but exists different vectores or different vectors. But the name is factores, and it's factorials. What is like the meaning? You have different factorials, and you can walk in, but different histories connect, but you can work in and you can decide. Maybe I have different connections. My way is the same, but for one community or for one opportunity, because maybe in 16, I take one scholarship and I will go to Italia, and I know like the Terra Madre. Terra Madre is like the incredible event. It's like the Guelaguetza, but only for the food.
Okay.
I invite you this year, passing in the world in Turin. But it's like incredible. Maybe it's like similar when you will go to the Guelaguetza, a lot of person, but one person emotionates, say, watch my onion. I say, it's one onion. No, it's the onion. Or another person, this is my cheese, or this is my bread. But like the people only talking about like the food, but no, it's like the person say, what is amazing food? No. It's like the concept, because it's the life. Like the person working for only one product, it's a specialist.
Yes, I see. They're making it's almost like the quesillo. I saw something you talked about the quesillo. But what we're going to do is we're going to leave people right here, because we want to talk about ethnofood, but we want you to watch part 2 for that. So thank you so much for sharing about your life, your philosophy. That was very, very important. I think it's so important that people get a feel of the person behind the business. And so they know that, truthfully, everything that you do, they might come in for a few hours, but the intent that you put in there has been 35 years of intent. And so that's what you're getting at Ethnofood. So we're going to talk about that in part 2. Thank you so much for joining me here on this part 1, and we'll see you on the other side. Ciao.